Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Bryan Hayes, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Now up on TSN2. Marcellus Wiley will join us here in a few moments. Get Marcellus's take on Joe Burrow going down at Bengals camp today. Calf injury. We don't know the extent of it. Pretty certain we won't see him, taking reps down at Cincinnati anytime soon. But It's July. If you're going to get injured, this is the time to get injured in the NFL.
And I guess the early reports are that Jamar Chase, of course, his star wide receiver, says not to worry, that Joe gave him a nod that everything's all right.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. Yet, I guess he had a calf injury to begin with, or something was going on with his calf.
He was wearing a sleeve on it.
He's wearing a sleeve already, and then all of a sudden, something else happens. So now you're a little bit nervous, but this guy's used to it. Like last year, I think his appendix blew out, didn't it? Right. I think he had an appendectomy last year. The year before that, he was coming off major surgery.
Big time.
And then he came into the league during COVID, so I don't think he had much of a preseason at that point either. So this guy, every preseason and every training camp is effectively thrown off, and it has not had any negative effect on what Joe Burrow does during the regular season. So if you're in Cincinnati, you're probably feeling pretty good about that.
Look, I think the definition of playing in the NFL means you're playing hurt most of the time, right? Yeah. So nothing new for Joe Burrow, I'm sure, but a little concerning.
It always is, and he's the next one up. Justin Herbert getting paid. Lamar Jackson got paid. Jalen Hurts got paid. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid a lot of money.
Yes, he will.
And I think Herbert just set the new standard for highest contract in the league, most guaranteed money. May not have passed Deshaun Watson's guaranteed, but it's close. And Burrow's going to be there too. But the difference is, the owner in Cincinnati is a different cat.
That's true.
He doesn't love spending a lot of money. Meanwhile, he's making a fortune.
Oh, yeah.
And the franchise value alone is worth billions and billions of dollars, even though it's in Cincinnati.
Well, that's what I mean. The Commanders just sell for $6 billion.
Right.
That's a new standard for North American sports franchises.
Exactly.
These guys are just swimming in potential money, right?
It's wild what they own.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you take equity out of it. I don't know what that's worth in terms of liquid assets in the moment.
I think it speaks to bankers.
I would think bankers
probably
would
good
be
for
like,
a few bucks.
We can, if you need some money, we're willing to hook you up.
Yeah.
If you got to give $300 million guaranteed to Joe Burrow, we can find that money for you. And we're pretty certain down the road, whenever you or the family sell, we'll get that money back plus.
That multi-billion-dollar franchise is probably going to hold its value for a while.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. But that's the next one. We'll see what Joey B ends up making.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of money. And guess what? He's worth it based on the way he plays and what he's done for that franchise. It's incredible.
No, it's beyond how he plays. It's his persona.
Yes.
He's a magnetic, charismatic, likable guy.
One of the coolest guys in pro sports.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And he immediately started winning.
Great leader. Great leader of men.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what this guy is. That's what the next level.
That's what the position is.
Yeah, and beyond the skills, right? He's got the skills, but then he's got that extra level of just everybody gravitates to him. Teammates love him.
Yeah.
Go to the wall for him. Working class guy too. The way he's kind of come out of near poverty or from a community that's impoverished. I'm not sure about his situation exactly, but I remember when he won the Heisman, he gave that incredible speech about he came from a community without a lot of money. And it means a lot to him to represent that community. And he said all the right things.
Yeah.
You just love a guy.
You got to have it like that at that position.
Yeah.
Right? In a league and in a sport where the locker rooms are divided based on what side of the ball you play on.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to Marcellus on this. You could have a legendary linebacker or cornerback or defensive end that's incredibly magnetic and very charismatic and culture-setting type player. I don't know if the offensive lineman cares that much.
Yeah.
They can be inspired by that. They can be close. Maybe they go for dinner on the road. Maybe. But I don't know if they're playing any better or with more confidence because that guy is available to them or sharing a locker room. The quarterback, though, I think that does apply.
Oh, yeah.
I think even the defensive players are like, man, that Joe Burrow, that cat's going to bring us somewhere.
That's exactly it.
They may love Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
They may love T. Higgins. They may love Joe Mixon. But they idolize Joe Burrow. Because they understand what you got to have it at that position. You got to have
it.
The quarterback's got to be.
It's got to be belief.
King.
That's the thing in this league. Like it's just so true in this league, and it's never been more true in an era where running backs have been rendered irrelevant, and only a few positions get paid, and the ball goes in the air all the time. Like if you're in that locker room and you know your quarterback's no good,
you're toast.
Like you can't win.
Yeah.
Like your season is doomed because of one guy.
Yep. You're not playing for wins. You're playing for a contract probably at that point. Your own statistics. Here's Marcellus Wiley, former NFL All-Pro, author, founder of the Project Transition Foundation. What's happening, Marcellus?
I'm doing great, man. Listening to you guys. What's up?
Yeah, we're loving it, man. Football camps are alive and well throughout 32 different cities. And we were talking about this Joe Burrow situation and just the power that a quarterback can have on a locker room and how, like, segregated a room can be based on offense and defense, right? We've had these conversations with you a lot as a defensive player. I don't know how close you were with guys on the offensive side of the ball. But I got to think, like, as a defensive player, the role of the quarterback, it's still got to factor in, right? Like that, the presence of a great quarterback's got to have some sort of presence in the defensive side of the locker room.
Absolutely, man. He lives in your confidence. You got to think about it. Like we all inherited that old phrase that defense wins championships. But then when you play the game, you realize, but offense wins games, including championships. Like, you can go out there and have an amazing defensive game. The average score in the NFL, probably in the low 20s now, high teens. But imagine you have a great defensive game, because I played on the number one defense a couple of times. A great defensive game. We gave up 6 points, and you lose that game 9-6. You know, it's like you can play as great a defense as you want, but if you're not putting up points and your points are coming from your confidence in your offense, especially the quarterback, you really don't stand a chance. So it's kind of like, look, we all know that we contribute, but someone has a lion's share of the contribution, and that's the quarterback. He has to do his job, and he has to be capable. If not, it's not going to work out.
So we saw Burrow go down. It sounds like he's going to be all right. It's a calf issue. It's not like he's going to miss any portion of the regular season. But I'm sure you've been in camps when quarterbacks have gone down. What's the vibe like around camp when that happens?
Oh, man, you just feel like somebody unplugged the whole team. All the energy is gone because it's the most difficult position to play and the hardest to.
All right, throw Marcellus on hold. We'll see if we can get him back. You could feel that one cooking, but yeah, like there's probably nothing like it. Like in terms of professional sports,
deflating a team.
Yeah. Like, especially early in camp when there's nothing but positive vibes. Everyone's happy to be there, relatively healthy.
That's the thing. Like, on hockey, one guy goes down in hockey, even if it's your best player, you can overcome it, right? Like, you've seen it. You've seen teams play well without their best player, right? But in football, it's just such a specific skill set.
Yeah.
And then how often is the backup even a reasonable kind of facsimile of the starter?
It's so hard to play.
Right.
It's such like Marcellus was getting to. It's such a tough position to play, right. And all eyes are on you all the time.
It's not like you got Brett Favre goes down. You happen to have Aaron Rodgers sitting there, but it's Aaron Rodgers who's never played in the NFL, right? It's not like Montana's out. You got Steve Young, but those situations don't exist.
You
right?
don't see those too often.
No.
Yeah, we got Marcellus back. Go ahead, Marcellus. You were telling us about the vibe around camp when a quarterback goes down.
Yeah, man. I mean, it just unplugs the energy of the team and the confidence. It's like you're playing a video game, you're trying to get your high score, and somebody just unplugs it. You're like, dude, what is this? I mean, look, we all have a role. We all have a contribution, but no one contributes greater to the confidence and, frankly, to the impact and results than the quarterback. It's just that simple. They have the ball in their hand every time to score. They're not the center. The center has his ball in his hand every time, but it's to give it to the quarterback. And the quarterback has just got to be a dude. And when you find that dude, you hold on to that dude and you sink your teeth and your claws into him as an organization. So they're not a dime a dozen. Other positions are a dime a dozen. Running backs are a dime a dozen. I hate to say it. Against the run, interior linemen are a dime a dozen. There are certain positions where, hey, the value is just different. You got to respect it for what it is, and quarterback's going to always get the utmost respect.
So speaking of respect at that position, Marcellus, what kind of respect does Aaron Rodgers earn in the New York Jets locker room when the news comes out that, hey, he tore up his contract and he gave back $35 million for the good of the team?
Not as much as I think fans think.
Really?
I would have never done that. I'm not even raising my hand in support of someone who does that, because it's funny. People who are more powerful than him in that organization would never take a haircut for the sake of winning. The owner is not taking $1 less. The general manager, none of those people who are like encouraging him to do that will ever take $1 less, but he did. Now, to each his own. But as a player, I'm like, dog, you earned that money. Why you don't want to keep it? Oh, it's to help us get other players. I'm like, well, one, their job is to find other players despite us having an amazing, legendary quarterback like you. So I don't even know if you made their job easier. Here's a scenario. One, that they go out there and they don't make the playoffs, and he took $35 million less. Two, they do make the playoffs. But you know what? How many times has the team that had the least amount of money spent won the Super Bowl? Like, it's like, I think this was a PR move. Look, Aaron has enough money to burn, and that's smart of him to try to play the PR game, especially when you're at the twilight of your career. You want to go off and have the adoration, the love, the respect that you deserve, that Tom Brady gets, that Peyton Manning gets. And doing this, he hopes that gives him an opportunity to close that gap. But if I'm his teammate, I'm shaking my head like, bruh, you did somebody else's job and you gave up money that you earned. I don't see the win in that.
With Marcellus Wiley, this Sean Payton story in USA Today is wild, man. I'm sure you saw it, Marcellus, where Sean Payton goes on the record with Jared Bell of USA Today calling the Nathaniel Hackett job last year as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, quote, it might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was, end quote. I don't recall in a fraternity like the coaching fraternity anyone saying that on the record. Off the record, I'm sure this is nothing. Off the record, this would happen all the time. But on the record, Payton destroys Hackett. What do you make of that comment, and what do you think he's trying to accomplish with it?
Oh, man. I think this is another effect of the new media, as they keep saying. Everybody is just being more authentic and real. Look, I mean, he's too big to fail. If you're Sean Payton, what's the worst that can happen to you? You go 0-17 and you're back at Fox talking in the air-conditioned studio for $5 million. Like, he's at that place where he's like, dude, I'm already a champion. I don't have to lie. I don't have to fluff it up. And to be real, I think it does wonders for his locker room, because they're like, wow, one, coach is keeping it real. And two, he's telling the truth on keeping it real, because a lot of times what happens is we all know, but we all don't say.
Right.
And you don't buy yourself any favors when you know something and you don't say it. Like, imagine if you're Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson's been taking all this hell, all this heat for a whole year. And then he's like got a new coach, Sean Payton. Yeah, he believes in him, but he's like, all right, here's a new system. Here's the new coach, blah, blah, blah. And then your coach comes out and says, look, I'm sorry, Russ, in so many words. You had to deal with the worst coaching job ever. Immediately, Russell Wilson's like, oh, I'm ignited. I'm inspired. I'm ready to go. Not only is he telling me what he has is championship worthy because he's Sean Payton, but he's telling me what I had was a bunch of junk, and I knew that, but it's great to hear that. Now let's go do this together. Love to play.
Go ahead.
No, it seems like it's about trying to bolster the confidence of Wilson, like you said, and allowing Wilson to kind of reset, which I think is important. I mean, if you're ever going to support your guys, especially your quarterback, it's early in camp. Like, this is when you need to put a shield around these guys. But does anyone outside of the locker room really believe that that's 100% the case? Like, Hackett was horrible, but Russ was terrible too, though. Like, isn't there two truths here? Like, Russ was awful last year.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? It's really difficult to outplay your coaching. But, it is okay to ride the waves of your players as a coach. Like, you could be a bad coach, but you got some studs out there. It's just going to work. But it's a chess match. It's a calculus equation. And if you don't have somebody doing calculus, they're doing basic math, you're in trouble when you go against another genius. He's going to light you up. So in this chess match, I can see where they were really underserved. And, I mean, look, you watched them last year. I can't lie, because they came to L.A. to play the Chargers. And I'm there watching, like, not only is Russ bad, but Russ looks confused. And he might have been confused not because of the plays they were calling, but why are we calling them? It's like there's nothing worse when you're a player and you're in the huddle, and then they call the play 32X wide drag. You're like, what? And you're like, what in the hell are we doing? And you still got to go out there and do that BS? Oh, there's no worse feeling. And imagine that happens 10, 20, 30 times a game. I feel for Russ, man. I'm out to roll the dice and bet on Russ because it sounds like things going to work out for him with a new coach in Sean Payton.
Well, that'll be a good one to watch. The other one everybody's going to be watching, obviously, Marcellus, and we touched on him, is the New York Jets and the hard knocks that's coming. And now we've got news that Dalvin Cook, free agent running back, is going to be visiting or plans to visit the New York Jets with an eye toward potentially signing. How much of a game changer could Cook being added to that roster be for the Jets?
Oh, he's a baller. I mean, beyond a baller, consistent too as well. So you got to love that. I mean, I know he's thanking Aaron Rodgers for taking a haircut so he can get paid and get in there. And so everyone's like, oh, my God, now look at us. But there's only one ball. They do have talent all around the Jets. Aaron Rodgers could be the cherry on top. I think Dalvin Cook coming there makes them, a tough offense to defend. That said, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out because there's a lot of new faces here. You got Lazard. You got Aaron Rodgers. He's hooking up with Wilson. That's new. We know they're going to have some form of chemistry, but let's not sneeze at the fact that you still got to bake this cake. It doesn't come ready-made. I don't care how much talent you have. It doesn't come ready-made. And you have a coach, as we were just talking about with Sean Payton and Robert Saleh, that has to know how to use these weapons effectively and efficiently. And if you don't do that, I don't care how much talent you got. You're going to play good, but you're not going to play well enough to do what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, which is win it all. So I love the talent play. I just got to see how it's all going to integrate and add up to greater results.
With Marcellus Wiley, Dalvin obviously he's out there. He's a running back. He's looking to get paid. He's not the only guy. A lot of running backs around the league looking to get paid. And then you got Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, who decided, I got Twitter, so I'll jump on Twitter and I'm going to tweet something out. I don't know if it's called Twitter anymore. Maybe it's X. I don't know. And Irsay tweets out, quote, NFL, based on what we've been talking about with the NFL running back situation, he said, quote, we have negotiated a CBA that took years of effort and hard work and compromise and good faith by both sides. To say now that a specific player category wants another negotiation after the fact is inappropriate. Some agents are selling bad faith, end quote. This cannot help his relationship with Jonathan Taylor, who's a stud, or was a couple of years ago, but it doesn't sound as if Irsay really cares that much. What do you make of an owner jumping on Twitter and kind of popping off in this capacity?
Once again, I love the transparency. I love the honesty. It just reminds me of women who say, I don't like short men. And we just look at that like, all right, well, she told her truth. And it's like, to me, Jim Irsay just told his truth, which is the truth, which is, hey, the NFL doesn't like running backs anymore. And you better learn the new way because running backs are the path of most resistance. To move the ball up and down the field, to get first downs, to score points, it's harder to do it running the ball than it is passing the ball. That said, you can't absolutely commit to one without the other. They're complementary. But in a complementary relationship, someone still leads the charge. There's no 50-50 here. And the rules and the talent and the fact that it's the path of least resistance all supports the quarterback receiver. If Justin Jefferson is lined up on the outside, he has one guy to beat that's a cornerback that weighs 180 pounds off the line. And then he's got 7 yards easily, maybe a touchdown. If you're Ezekiel Elliott, you get the ball, you got 7 to 9 guys from 200 to 350 pounds all in the box, and it's a cloud of dust. You might get 4 yards if you're lucky. Point being, man, like, where's the fullback? You know where the fullback is? He's gone for a reason. The game has evolved. Like, no one's trying to run the ball in a cloud of dust for 15 plays in 9 minutes. They're trying to score and score fast and then let their defense keep it going. Like, it's just that simple. I love running backs. I used to be a running back. But be real, bro. That stuff is too hard. They average 4 yards a carry. Yeah. Receivers, it's like 11 yards a catch. It's like, get out of my face. It ain't that serious.
Yeah. That's got to be a part of the anger, though, right? It's like these guys, like, it's violent. Every time they get the ball, there are 11 monsters trying to kill them. And they just want to get paid, Marcellus. They just want a little bit more money.
Oh, I totally get it, but I also understand you got to get it because you got. Like, you know, sometimes people raise their hands to be things in life, and then they realize that thing is no longer a thing. You got to adjust, man. What you gonna do? Change the game or change how you play the game? That's it.
That's true. All right, Marcellus, we got camps open league-wide, man. It's a beautiful thing. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Oh, love it, guys. Talk to you later, brothers.
Marcellus Wiley, former All-Pro NFL, author, founder of the Project Transition Foundation, one of our favorites. Yeah, like the running back position.
It's wild, man.
It is so crazy that they, like, when you're running between the tackles, and you have no idea what's waiting for you, but you know it's nasty and it's physical.
Yeah, I see what Jim Irsay's saying, the deal's a deal and all the rest of it. But you see the running back's point. Like, they're making a point that, like, you need us. Like, you're going to need running backs.
Yeah.
And it's really not fair because essentially you use us up before we can get paid.
Yes.
Right? That's what happens.
Exactly.
And that's why even the best of the best, and Saquon Barkley is scrounging for his $11 million plus bonuses, right? Which I know no one feels sorry for, but in the grand scheme of football, not a lot of money, especially with a limited career trajectory and to your point, nightly torture when you're out there, right? So,
like, you look at the Giants just gave Andrew Thomas, a left tackle, who's a stud. 5-year deal, $67 million guaranteed.
Right.
And listen, he's got a tough job. He's got guys coming at him.
That's tough.
But it's not violent. It's tactical. Like, there is a lot of contact, but this guy's not getting hit out of nowhere.
That's the thing.
And he's bigger than anyone he's probably going up against.
Yeah.
Like, Barkley is not. And if he comes around the corner and you have a monster waiting for you, like, you're getting hit.
It'd be over
every time. Yes, you can get out of bounds. Yes, you can get down. But at some point, you got to reach for that extra yard or two, and something crazy is going to happen to you. That doesn't happen with really any other position.
No, it is.
Like, not that consistently. Yes, quarterbacks can be in that spot sometimes, wideouts, tight ends. If there's a fumble, all hell can break loose, or a pick or whatever. But, like, the nature of the position is take this ball and run and see if you can get through those.
Yeah. It's the ultimate sacrifice position. Like,
it really is.
Look, you're in it for yourself, but you're sacrificed for the team, and the team needs you. And as much as we'd say it's not a running game anymore, you still need a running game.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Well,
you need the option of a running game.
Especially if you don't have a quarterback, which I would suggest the Giants don't.
Well,
I don't care what they paid Danny Dimes. I don't care what they found. They unlocked last year out of Danny Dimes and all that kind of. I'm not buying it.
But even But even when you do have a quarterback, the threat of the running game is the contrast you need to keep the opposition guessing. It's a big part of the game.
Right.
And I see where these guys are coming from. Now, this idea that they were going to start their own running backs union.
Yeah, that's obviously never going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
Ridiculous.
But I do see a tweak to say, like, let's pay guys earlier. Find a way to pay them earlier for performance.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you give us a 1,000-yard season as a rookie, and you're getting paid rookie dollars, you should probably get bumped up a little bit. There's some
incentive.
There should be something there.
Yeah.
For those guys.
And I think the frustration is, again, when you get to camp, everything's supposed to be all good at that point.
Right.
And it's supposed to be understood that, okay, now we're in it. Now you got to look at the playbook. And if you're Barkley, if you're Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, if you're Josh Jacobs in Vegas, realize you have poor quarterback play, chances are the head coach and the offensive coordinator is looking at you to make or break the offense.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to do anything this year, you got to really put on a performance, man.
Got to go through you.
But we're not going to pay you.
We're just going to force feed you this ball.
Yes. We're going to pay the quarterback and the left tackle way more than you, but you're the one that's really
quarterback stinks.
Yes.
Quarterback stinks, and it's on you, my man.
Yep.
And that's look, I mean, I know there's nothing fair about pro sports. They're never
That's the way it goes.
The way it goes, but I see it's good at least the conversations out there. These guys are trying to stand up for themselves to some degree because, I mean, somebody should.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a violent position to play.
Yeah.
It is. And the salary cap keeps going up. There's more and more money out there.
But it's not going to that.
It's just the percentage of it is not changing. If anything, the percentage is shrinking for running backs.
That's what I mean. It's all going to the corner. It's going to the cornerbacks and the quarterbacks and the line.
Yep. Edge rush. Like if you pass rush,
start tight ends.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Got to be a star.
Got to be a star. You got to be Travis Kelce effectively to really get paid. All right, Ben Verlander coming up. Shohei Ohtani has hit 2 home runs today. He also threw a complete game 1-hitter.
And then he exited with cramping, which means
he may not play tomorrow night.
Uh-oh.
He may not play tomorrow night. More on that.
Got tickets.
Jays Angels tomorrow night. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Jays Angels tomorrow night. We'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later this hour. A lot of Jays fans, they've been pouring into the park all year.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like the renovations have gone a long way in boosting tickets and excitement, and people want to get down there and check out the park. You're coming out of the pandemic. Downtown's alive.
Pent-up demand.
A lot of pent-up demand, and the Jays are a really good team. But this weekend was setting up to be a really special one because Ohtani's in town, and he was supposed to pitch tomorrow night. That changed.
Yes.
Because of a doubleheader in Detroit. So he will not because he pitched earlier today. But at a minimum, you figured, okay, if I'm buying tickets, especially on the secondary market, I might have to pay a fortune because I think Ohtani's pitching.
Yep.
Well, that was ripped away from you. Now he was pulled from the second part of a doubleheader because of cramping. I'm not sure he plays tomorrow night.
I know.
So if you bought tickets at a premium to see him pitch, you may not even see him hit tomorrow night. Which
that
suck.
Is a sad scenario.
That is
I feel
a sad
for
scenario.
people because, I was looking at like the cheapest ticket I saw before word came down that he was pitching today in Detroit instead of tomorrow in Toronto. Like the crappiest seat was going for about $200.
Yeah.
And now that's tanked. It's about half of that.
And if he's not playing at all, they might be handing him out for free tomorrow
That's
night.
possible.
It's still a Friday in Toronto with the Jays. Here's Ben Verlander, Fox Sports MLB analyst, Flippin' Bats pod. You feeling for people up here in Toronto, Ben, if we can't see Shohei pitch tomorrow night and possibly not play because I guess he's left the game today with cramps?
Yeah, I just hearing you break it all down, even I thought he was starting tomorrow until I heard first thing this morning, which I guess they announced it yesterday, but even I thought he was starting in Toronto, and then obviously ends up having the day he's had today, which is there's an argument this is the greatest day we've ever seen from a baseball player ever.
Right.
Unless you want to go back to, the 1900, which you and I probably don't remember that super well, but maybe there was a player back then. And now for him to potentially not even play tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously you want to watch him, but it's better for the team if he's not playing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if you're there to see the Jays win, this could be a real positive, and there's no guarantees. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. But you mentioned how today legitimately could be the greatest day by a professional ball player we've ever seen because Ohtani was pitching in the first game of the doubleheader. He pitches a complete game 1-hitter shutout, and then he hits 2 home runs in the afternoon. I saw MLB tweet this out earlier this hour. At 3:26 p.m. Eastern Time, Ohtani threw his final pitch of the shutout. At 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time, he hit a league-leading 37th home run. Like, I guess there's no other way to describe this guy anymore. Like, is it the end of the dictionary when you're trying to describe how great this guy is and how unique he is as a player?
Yes, it is. And I've been trying my best to do it for 2 years now, and I feel like you run out of words pretty quickly when you start. If you really start peeling back the layers of what we're saying and you really understand that this goes far greater than just a guy that's a good pitcher and a good hitter because, he's doing what the greatest athlete in the county did in Little League, but he's doing it at the biggest level in the world. And what it takes to do that in terms of what you put your body through in a 162-game season and to be able to prepare himself every fifth or sixth day as a starter while also hitting every game. I mean, the guy threw a complete game one hitter today, and an hour later he was in the starting lineup hitting homers. Like, it's unbelievable. There are no words for what we're seeing. Certainly in my lifetime, this is the greatest baseball player that we've ever seen. And, you know, when you start having greatest of all time conversations, I'm a big proponent of there being longevity involved there and doing it over a long period of time. But certainly I think there's an argument for Shohei being the greatest baseball player of all time. It would be a matter of how long he can do this in terms of if he's ever considered the GOAT. But this is the greatest baseball player we've ever seen.
Well, Ben, whether he's the greatest of all time or not is for another day. For this week, we were talking about whether he would be traded or not before the August 1st deadline. We just had Steve Phillips, former Mets GM, on here, and he's calling it essentially baseball malpractice for the Angels not to trade this guy, given that they're going to come into Toronto tomorrow, 3 games back of that final wild card. They got an 8% chance of making the playoffs, according to some prognostications. Phillips is saying they should have just traded him, got whatever prospects they could get because they're not going to be able to re-sign him. Where do you stand on the Angels pulling him off the market? Okay, Ben.
Good stuff. See if we can get Ben back on. We got you, Ben?
I'm here.
We lost you,
You
Ben.
okay?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I went through a bad area, I guess. Literally today, I was talking about this and was trying to figure out where I stood here. And it was last night. I thought about this long and hard when they were making the trade because what I decided is it's super easy for all of us armchair GMs and owners to sit at home and say, how could you do this? What are you doing? It's terrible for the organization. You have to trade him. You have to get something for the future. And I really thought about that because, I think everybody said that at some point that's not involved with the Angels, including myself. But when you really think about it, if I'm the owner of the team or if I'm the GM and I have a player that you and I can sit here and talk about being the greatest of all time, and you have him, are you really going to wake up in the morning and say it's time, we have to trade him, we have to get something for him? If you were going to trade him, you should have done it last year. That you'd get so much, you'd get closer to what you should get for him last year. This year as a rental, you wouldn't get what you need, and it certainly wouldn't guarantee your organization's changed around forever. So if I wake up as the GM or the owner of the team, I say, look, we have a couple months left to prove to him that we're buyers, to prove that we can make it to the playoffs. If they go into Toronto this week and let's say they sweep 3 games, which it's baseball, anything can happen, then they're in a playoff spot. I mean, obviously some things have to fall their way, but they're tied with Toronto at that point, or right there with them.
Yep.
So I get it. I don't know if it's going to be the smartest move in the world. Their GM said today, like, I can go to sleep at night knowing we had the greatest and we at least tried. And I heard Shohei after the first game today say along the same lines, this is the first time in my 6 years that we've been buyers. And I love it here. I love the fans. I'm comfortable here. And I'm really happy we're going for it. So let's say they get in with their 10% chance or whatever it is. And let's say they have a chance to keep the greatest of all time. They're keeping that chance alive by keeping him and proving to him that they're going to go for it. And you can't fault them for that. You can't. Is it the smartest thing in the world to do? I don't know. But they're risking it, and they're going for it while they have him. And I'll tell you this, I do respect that choice.
We're chatting with Ben Verlander, Fox Sports MLB analyst, Flippin' Bats pod. One of the arms that they will run into, the Angels, this weekend is Alek Manoah. He's set to pitch on Saturday. And listen, the Blue Jays, they're putting all their eggs into his basket, right? They're gambling that he's going to turn it around. They want to believe it. It's one of the more shocking stories in recent Toronto sports history, Ben, and obviously you're aware of it. This is a guy who was unanimously beloved by a fan base and was expected to compete for a Cy Young and has been a mess. What are you projecting for him the rest of the way? How much faith do you have that Alek Manoah can not necessarily revert back to 2022 form, but can be a legitimate, productive arm within the rotation?
Well, I think the Blue Jays are going about it the right way, where you need him to be that guy. I think the Blue Jays can be a playoff team without him, but I don't think they can achieve their ultimate goal without Alek Manoah being a Cy Young caliber pitcher. And is he going to get back to that this year? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I do believe he can be a serviceable pitcher again and can be this year, and you need him to be. So I'm hopeful he turns it around. As physical as it may have been, I believe it was equally, if not more, mental. And once you can get over that mental hurdle of things, the game of baseball is so mental, especially from a hitter's perspective, which I could talk about. And I understand Alek Manoah isn't a hitter, but you know, as a hitter, you fail 70% of the time and you're a Hall of Famer. So it's just so mental. And if he's able to get over that hump, we know how good he can be. And I think the Jays need him to be back to that to achieve the ultimate goal, which is a World Series. So I like continuing to run him out there and hope he turns a corner and show him that you believe in him. And I think that can go a long way for his confidence on the mound. And we've seen flashes since he's come back up of him being good, of his command being back, of swing and miss stuff. I think I saw his last start. He had more swing and misses than he has any other start, which is a really good sign. So hopefully he turns the corner here and mentally can get back to where he was just about a year ago, where he was pitching in the All-Star game and telling David Ortiz he was going to strike him out and striking out guys from what John Smoltz was telling him to do. That was awesome, and hopefully he gets back to that.
Yeah, Ben, that's it was hard to believe that was only a year ago that he was on top of the baseball world and how far he's fallen. But, the Blue Jays have got a lot of other concerns, obviously, including the teams that are chasing them for that final wild card spot. We just talked about the Angels and their chances of doing it with maybe Trout coming back in August. If you're sort of we were asking Steve Phillips this too, and it's probably top of mind for the Blue Jays about who you have to worry about and what you need to do to bolster your team in the pennant race here or the wild card race. Who worries you more, though? Is it the Yankees, who are nearly getting Aaron Judge back and only a couple of games back, or is it the Red Sox who've been really hot of late? I think 15-5 in their last 20, really rolling. Is that a blip? We don't know, but they've been good lately. Which team of those two concerns you the most if you're the Blue Jays?
I would definitely say it's the Yankees. Getting Aaron Judge back, who's obviously, he's Aaron Judge, he's the reigning MVP, and getting him back. And I refuse to believe that the Yankees aren't going to do anything to bolster their team at the deadline. I just think the benefit of getting Judge back, the vibes are going to be higher. They're going to be playing, you can't imagine they're going to be. It's been a tough watch for the Yankees since Aaron Judge has been out. And their offense isn't just going to magically get better when he returns as a whole. Obviously, him coming back helps the team, but the whole lineup's not going to magically get better. So there needs to be some movement and some moves made by the team. But him coming back, it is a very good roster and a rotation that, Carlos Rodon's made just a few starts this year. And his most recent one against the Mets, he's looked the best he has all year. So a rotation with Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon and a good bullpen with a lineup with Aaron Judge and whoever they add. I know a lot of people are down on the Yankees right now, and for good reason. It's been quite the bad stretch for them, and their offenses look rather lethargic. But I do believe they'll turn it around, and they would worry me the most.
Always great catching up with you, Ben. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. Always appreciate you having me.
You got it. Ben Verlander of Fox Sports and the Flippin' Bats pod. Flippin' Bats, that was an issue, I guess, last night with Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Right? Houston versus Texas.
Right.
I don't know if it was actually a bat flip, but it was a grand slam when the game was out of hand. And I think Houston was all bent out of shape, which the idea that they have the stones to feel like they can be on a moral high ground.
Yes.
Like, who are you, Houston Astros?
Seriously.
To ever look at a different team and say, you're breaking the rules
Shouldn't
there,
be
man.
doing that.
That's not going to fly. Like, there should
Seriously.
almost be like a statute of limitation on that. Like, for the next 20 years, you get Houston cannot say a peep.
Exactly.
After that expires, go ahead. Return to your goofy unwritten rules that you're going to abide by and expect everyone else to. But how dare you, the Houston Astros, pretend like you are the sheriffs when it comes to integrity in baseball?
The sheriffs of the unwritten rules.
So
of the game.
dopey.
Yeah. Bang a garbage can twice if you're pissed off that they flipped the bat. I mean,
Right.
Come on.
Come on. That was amazing that Springer was getting booed in L.A.
Yeah.
And obviously because of the role he played with Houston in 17.
Baseball purists still remember him, right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of the great stains on the game.
Yeah.
It really is.
Absolutely it is. And it is a stain on the legacy of Rob Manfred, who just got extended, that he let them completely off the hook.
Yeah. I think that's
full immunity if you just admit. Like, what kind of world is that?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I killed someone. Oh, thank you for telling me. That's all I needed to hear.
You're good.
You're good.
Thanks for the information.
Thank you for the information. Because you're being honest. You're completely off the hook.
Now we know who the murderer is. All good.
It's all good now.
Think about that.
Yeah. Like,
that's essentially what happened.
Yeah. The players were like, all right, we were doing it. I did it. And this ring is never going away. And Manfred's like, okay, thank you for the honesty. I'll go make sure your owner and your GM and your manager get clipped. But you guys are all good. Bregman, you're good. Altuve, you're good. Correa, you're good. Unbelievable.
Think about that.
Like, unbelievable that the players
true, though,
are just...
like Manfred has really been astute because he's been able to get over that and then kind of make everybody forget about that with this great season of changed rules.
Yeah.
Pitch clock and the bigger bases and the shift being negated and the throwing over to first being limited. I mean, all these things have been such genius strokes and in a lot of ways no-brainers, but at least he was the guy that put them in.
Yeah, he spearheaded that as the commissioner, yeah. Listen, the fickle nature of the fan is what it is.
But it's still good that somebody remembers that you got to boo the Astros that were on that.
Yeah, including Springer, who even though now he's a Blue Jay, it's like, hey.
Toronto, I understand.
Toronto, it's all good.
Yeah.
Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on the Guardians tonight, money line. The White Sox just traded away Giolito. They just traded away a bullpen arm. Like, they're basically saying we're out. They were out anyway. Cleveland still thinks they're kind of in it. It's a divisional game, but I think the morale, I'm going to play the morale game on this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go Guardians money line tonight. Same thing, Cubs, Cardinals. Neither team is any good. This is a historically great rival. Great rivalry, the Cubs and the Cardinals. Great rivalry. You're getting some plus money. I think the better pitcher on the mound tonight, pitching for the Cubs. I'll take the Cubs tonight, money line. Guardians, money line, Cubs, money line. Two battles of the Midwest. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. We'll come back and recap a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, so someone sent me a text here saying you have to mention that Colin Montgomery is playing the Senior British Open and is grin screwing everyone right now. Can imagine who sent me that information.
I love it.
The old Monty grin screw everywhere, all over the Open, the Senior Open Championship. Probably not Senior British Open, right? It can't be. It's got to be the Senior Open Championship. And the Evian Championships kicked off today, right? I haven't been tracking that. How's Brooke Henderson doing?
Yeah, I don't think she was like 5 or 6. I think Bobby Weeks 5 or 6 off the lead.
Okay. Well, she's defending her championship there. And she's okay, 2 under today. So she's in the mix.
Yeah, she's right in the mix.
Leaders at 7 under.
5 under.
Okay.
Five strokes off. The 7 under is the lead.
Yeah, that's all right.
But a bunch of people at 5 under. She's right there.
Yeah, she's right there. You see Lydia Koza at 5 under. A couple of Rose Zhang is, I just saw her name. What is she? 2, 3 under? 2 under? Yeah, there's Brooke 2 under. It's all good. Yeah, Brooks. That's a good spot.
Good spot.
Yeah, you're okay with that.
Rose Zhang, yeah, wow, what a phenom.
Yeah, it is. And I was watching a bit of it this morning, and I'm like, man, I like watching the World Cup at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Get up this morning. Like a lot of the leaders were already, they were in the clubhouse by the time I tuned in, like 9:30 a.m.
Love
over in Paris.
Awesome.
Oh, good. Midweek in the summer, it's great. It's great.
It'd be great.
Yep. So, again, Shohei Ohtani pitched a complete game one-hitter today, shut out one hitter, and then hit 2 home runs.
In the second game.
But then got pulled for cramps, and now the concern is they're going to fly up here to Toronto tonight, and if he's ailing at all, he probably won't even play tomorrow.
Oh, man.
So if you bought tickets thinking he was going to pitch, not only is he not pitching tomorrow, there's a chance he's not even going to play. That stings.
That would not be great.
No.
I'd feel for people.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to say you saw this guy play.
And ideally pitch. Like, look what he did today.
Oh.
Like, you don't want it against your team. Like, if you're a big Blue Jay fan, you want to see him pull out a win, but there's something about history and being able to say you saw it.
Oh.
And at a minimum, you want to see him take a couple hacks, right? You got to get your mandatory 4 or 5 at-bats of Ohtani. And we'll see. We'll find out more tomorrow. Hopefully it's all good. He gets some water in him tonight and moves on. But Jays Angels tomorrow night.
Man.
All right, Dave. Good seeing you, man.
Great being here.
Thanks for doing this, as always. Kara Wagner will be in here tomorrow. It'll be good to see Kara. Kara's a big Jays fan herself. We'll see what she has to say about Ohtani and the Angels in town. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes, everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.